All right, welcome back to Ozark Garage. Today we're going to talk about a Suzuki DR200 and a DRZ400 over here. If you're shopping around for a used dual sport motorcycle, you're likely to find one or both of these motorcycles for sale. For over 20 years, these two bikes have comprised the entry-level offerings in Suzuki's dual sport here in the United States. The DR200 first came out in the 1980s, and then the DRZ400 came out in around 2000. The DR200, this one is a 2006 SE model, was discontinued in 2020, I think it was, and the DRZ400 is still available today. So if you just look at the naming scheme, so DR200, DRZ400, you might think, you know, these are just the same bike, one's bigger engine, but really they're not. They are very different motorcycles when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it. What the Z stands for, I don't know if somebody out there watching knows what the Z stands for. Post it down in the comments and then everyone will know. So yes, they're both made by Suzuki, they're both single cylinder, they're both carbureted, but like I said before, there's some significant differences. So the 200 is air cooled, the 400 is liquid cooled. It's got big large radiators up front. The 200 is a single overhead cam. The 400 is a dual overhead cam setup. Both bikes do have carburetors, but the 400 actually has a throttle position sensor on the carburetor for computer-controlled timing, so it'll control the ignition advance as necessary based on the throttle position. The compression is higher on the 400 at 11.3 to 1. The 200 is 9.4 to 1. The larger displacement, higher compression, adds up to 39 horsepower on the 400 and only 20 on the DR200. The 400 has a semi-dry sump system with the oil tank actually built into the frame. The 200, on the other hand, is more conventional with a wet sump system. The 200 has a height adjuster on the rear shock, but otherwise the shocks are fixed unless you tear them apart and revalve them or something. The 400, on the other hand, has adjustable front and rear shocks. You can not only adjust the preload, but also the dampening on the front and the rear of the DRZ400. Both bikes have hydraulic disc brakes up front, but the 200 has a mechanical drum in the rear, and the 400 has a disc brake in the rear, a hydraulic disc in the rear also. Interestingly enough, the 200 has a larger tank, 2.9 US gallons versus 2.6 on the DRZ400. Seems kind of backwards, but that's what it is. Both bikes have spoked 21-inch front wheels and 18-inch rear wheels. The DRZ does have a fancier dash. It's got a digital dash, whereas the 200 is more basic with an analog speedometer. With a larger engine, liquid cooling, and bigger suspension, the DRZ400 is heavier as you would expect, 317 pounds versus 278 on the DR200. The DRZ400 has magnesium engine case covers and valve covers to save weight. If you're a new or inexperienced rider looking at either of these bikes, you're going to find a lot of opinions saying that the DRZ400 is not beginner friendly. And I want to address kind of what the main issue with that is, and it really revolves around one thing, and that is seat height. The DRZ400 seat height is listed at 36.8 inches in stock form, so almost 37 inches, and that's about 5 inches taller than the DR200. Now, seat height can be overcome with practice and technique. There's tons of videos on YouTube out there with shorter riders taking on bigger, heavier bikes. But that seat height is definitely intimidating to new or inexperienced riders, especially if you're a shorter one. If you're 5'4", you can probably sit on the 200 with both feet flat on the ground. The 400 though, you're gonna be dangling. There's just no way around it. If you're 6 foot or taller like me, you could probably sit on the 400 flat-footed without any issues. Needless to say, the 400 is a faster bike. The 200 at full throttle with a 200-pound rider, me, it'll go 65 miles an hour on flat ground. But it also struggles to go up a hill and pull that kind of speed. You have to downshift and you're gonna be in the 50s. In reality, the 200 is more comfortable in the 55 to 60 range. And the 400, on the other hand, it'll hold 70 to 75 up a hill, no problem, no downshifting. Top speed on it's listed at like 94 miles an hour, way faster than you need to go on knobbies in my opinion, but to each their own. And that speed is really the reason I bought the 400. I like to commute to the day job on a motorcycle, and for me that involves some 60 to 65 mile per hour traffic on a 2-lane highway. When you can't maintain the speed of traffic on the highway, especially going up hills, people get impatient and they try passing when they shouldn't. Also, the 200 is way too slow to take on the interstate. I don't have any plans to take the 400 down the interstate, but if I need to go down to the next exit or something, I can. It'll keep up with traffic for at least a short period of time. No worries there. So the big things about the 400 is more power and a wider power band. So this one will rev to 10,000 RPM for redline. That one, 8,500 or 8,000, something like that. So it's got a wider power band and it's got better suspension. So more speed on the road, and then the better suspension gives you more speed off of the road. So all around, this is a faster bike in all situations than that will be. Is the 400 too fast for a new rider? I don't think so. I don't think it's that fast. And really, if you want something that'll go highway speed or be better on the highway at least, look at a 400 maybe and look at lowering it. So you can buy lowering links that bolt in pretty easily. I have no plans to lower this bike because I don't need to, but it may be an option for someone out there who wants something that's better on the highway and they're willing to give up some suspension for it off-road. So is the 200 a bad bike? Absolutely not. I like it. I'm both sad to see it go. It's lightweight, it's easy to handle, it's fun to ride. Suzuki discontinued the DR200 a couple years ago. As of today, Suzuki only offers the DRZ400 and then the DR650. Actually, the 650 and the 200 have more in common than the 400. The 650 and 200 are both air-cooled singles, and they're both what you would consider a traditional thumper, if you will, in terms of motorcycles. So I don't know if Suzuki's going to replace the DR200 with anything. I would think they would replace it with something in the 300cc range to compete with Kawasaki and Honda. So Kawasaki has the KLX 300, Honda has the CRF 300L, and they've even got the rally version of that with a windshield and stuff. I looked at both of those bikes when I was looking for something a little bit bigger and more powerful than this 200, but then this 400 popped up for sale on Marketplace, so I snagged it instead. So anyway, I hope that helps if you're considering either one of these bikes. If you have any questions, post it in the comments below. I do read all the comments and respond to as many of them as I can. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.